viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 78 of the Gamers podcast. Once again, in glorious Gamers colororama, as directed and produced by Mr. Paul Younger, who is here. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Paul, is it true that we're also going to try to pioneer some scratch and sniff technology for the Gamers podcast?
Yeah, that would be nice, but I don't think it would go down too well.
Alas. And also here is Tim McDonald. Tim, do you think if we had scratch and sniff that all games journalists would smell of corruption?
I think that's a loaded question, primarily.
It is.
Well, I'm choosing not to answer it.
Well, give us a wave instead, Tim. Excellent. That's one for the audio listeners there. I should apologise if you're only doing the audio stream. Any visual gags will fly over your head. My name is Peter Parrish. If I've introduced myself before, my name is probably floating around somewhere. And having introduced everyone, let's find out what we have been playing this week. He's not going to like it, but I'm going to start with you, Paul, because you actually have played something this week, so I'm going to force you to divulge what that is.
Oh God, you had to start with me, didn't you? You know I hate starting first. It's just not fair. But yeah, no, I have been playing something this week. Hey, and it is Blacklight Retribution, which is the new free-to-play FPS from Perfect World, done by Zombie Studios, who did Blacklight Tango Down, which I would rather forget in a hurry, to be honest. It wasn't great.
Not a fan, then?
No, not a fan at all. But it was. I didn't really have high hopes for this based on the fact that I had played that, and I was just kind of fearing the worst. But last night I actually got in the game, set up an account, and got playing. Like most free-to-play titles, it's about microtransactions as well. So you can get enhancements like weapons, armor, and so on if you part with your money. But you can also get them if you play a lot of hours. The thing is, with this is, and pretty much like Tango Down was, it's a pretty fast-paced FPS, probably more in the vein of sort of the early FPS titles like Quake. It is really quick moving. It's not so much like COD or Battlefield, which are quick, but this is quicker. You know, you can just sort of go around a corner and you're like, that's it, bang, you're gone. So it is interesting in that respect if you're looking for something really quick. It did bring back some of the things from Tango Down, like the HRV visor, which is, I think it's the HRV, I hope I'm correct there. It's where you can see through walls for a short period of time based on a sort of power bar that you have. So you can see where the enemy are roughly, and that sort of ticks down quite quickly. That is probably one of the only unique things about it from the shooter experience point of view. It is basically your standard FPS game modes, Team Deathmatch, King of the Hill, Capture Flag, that kind of stuff. It's not doing anything particularly innovative, although the environments are sort of Blade Runner-esque and they're quite nice. Although when I was playing it last night, I actually got motion sick for the first time in quite a while, and I started bursting out into sweats, which I get occasionally when I'm playing FPS stuff, but maybe it was just late, I don't know. But the more I played it, the more I actually started to enjoy it, for taking it for what it was, being a really sort of quick-paced shooter, and it was actually quite a lot of fun. So I probably will do a full review on this on the site, but I was quite more impressed with it than I thought I was going to be, put it that way.
I was just going to ask, you didn't like the first one, so what sort of differences are there between that and this? What's made you enjoy this a bit more? How does it differ?
Well, I kind of thought the first one was sort of a bit unpolished, and I think Ignition kind of sort of stopped them developing it any further. So it really it felt kind of unfinished, and the environments weren't as vibrant as they are in this either. It just kind of felt a little bit, I don't know, dull. really, and it was full of bugs as well. I'm not saying that Retribution isn't full of bugs, because it has got bugs, which they'll hopefully sort out. But with Perfect World behind it, hopefully they'll be allowed to fix a lot of these issues, and the game will actually mature as it goes along as more people start playing it.
You said that it didn't massively innovate in any way, but you mentioned that it's like a really fast-paced, old-school style shooter. And like I've got Tribes Ascend to review at the moment, and one of the things I think about that is that it kind of said to me that there hasn't actually been that many like really fast-paced shooters on PC. Certainly recently, they have all been more kind of Call of Duty style, Battlefield style, where it's more methodical, I guess. It's not quite as hectic. So maybe there's a bit of a resurgence happening. Do you think this might mark a bit of a comeback for that?
I definitely think there's a market for it. I actually prefer those types of shooters. It's kind of get in quick, get a really fast action blast. You don't have to play for a long period of time, but you can get that rush that you would probably get if you played a few more games of COD or Modern Warfare or Battlefield. So yeah, I think there's a market for it, and I think they've kind of got it right with this. It's really hard to explain until you play. I think it's going to appeal to some people, but not everybody. I think the COD players and that may not like the pace of it, but it is a lot of fun.
All right, cool. I'm going to interject with something I've been playing this week, because I've been playing quite a lot. As we talked about last week on the podcast, if you remember that, I was going to be looking at Carrier Command, the Bohemia Interactive's remake of I think it's a 1988. I'm going to call it a classic game because it is indeed a classic. And it's pretty damn good, actually. The preview is up on IncGamers.com with a little IncGamers Plays video as well, where I do a bit of island capturing. And in the preview code, they gave you... In the full version, there's going to be 2 modes of play. They're going to do like a full campaign, which I think will have like a narrative to go along with it and a sort of mission progression. The preview didn't have any of that, but it did have the sort of standalone strategy mode, which seems to be pretty much a straight remake of the original Carrier Command. So if you played that, then you'll know what that is, and if not, basically you control a carrier, hence the title, which has land and sea and air-based units on it. The land and sea ones are the same. They're called walruses, and the air ones are mantas. And basically you sail around trying to capture islands off an enemy carrier who's also capturing these islands. And once you have the island in your possession, you can use it as either like a production island or a defensive island or a resource island, which basically allows you to restock your carrier and carry on the fight against the enemy carrier, basically. And yeah, I was pretty impressed with it. Mostly what impressed me was that the gameplay holds up. It's a game from a long time ago, but at the time I thought it was pretty ahead of its time in the way that it combined fairly kind of open tactical strategic decisions with direct control of units, because you can fly the mantas and you drive the walruses, so you can either kind of control them back from base and direct them around the map to attack specific targets, but you can also, because they're sort of drone remote controlled things, you can hop into one as well, so you can fly the manta if you think there's a more complex mission that the AI can't handle, which is basically any mission other than shoot this thing. Then you can hop in and do that. And yeah, I was impressed, and I'm looking forward to the full game of that, basically, because the preview taster was pretty good. Anyone have any?
I was just going to say, so how similar is it to the first one? Because I had a look at the video, and it does look like it's been all lovingly and flashily updated. But in terms of core gameplay, how much has it been expanded on?
In this strategy mode, not at all, really. It's basically the same. As far as I remember, I mean, I did play Carrier Command back in the 80s. I was pretty young, so I didn't really know what I was doing, which came back to haunt me slightly in this preview because it had like a PDF manual that I had to read through. There wasn't much else in the way of tutorial guidance because I think that'll all be in the main campaign. It'll teach you how to do all that stuff. Really what they've changed is the user interface, which is good because in the original that was a living nightmare.
Yes.
In the sense that, to give you an example, if you wanted to speed up one of your vehicles, I think you had to use the joystick to move the pointer to like a little speed up bar on the user interface to make it speed up and slow down. It was very clunky and awkward and 1980s style. So that's all nice and pretty fluid now. You can go between the screens nice and easily and give your vehicles orders and hop in and out of them pretty easily. And obviously the graphics are a little bit nicer than they were back in 1988. Otherwise I don't see any major differences in this particular mode, which, as I say, I think is basically trying to replicate it exactly. And in the campaign, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I've heard them talk about like first-person missions and stuff. So there may be missions where you sort of have to control a certain vehicle to do a certain task, rather than it being kind of up to you which island you sail to next and sort of how you approach the attack. But I'm hoping there's still going to be some of that in the main narrative as well, like choosing which shoreline to approach from and which defences to try and take out first, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a case where I'm glad they basically haven't done much to it, because I don't think it needs much doing to it. Quite frankly, it's they've improved the areas that need improving, which is the interface and arguably the graphics.
I watched your In Gamers Plays video, and
I'm glad someone did.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sad to say that even though I've played it, I didn't even remember any of it whatsoever. It was like it never happened in my life, which is just sad.
Oh. No, you don't remember like mantas and walruses and none of that?
I remember the names, but I actually, when I was watching the strategic gameplay element of it, I don't even remember any of that at all. That's really bad. Maybe I've been abducted by aliens or something at some point, and they've brainwashed me. I don't know.
It was definitely there. I mean, I don't know if in the, maybe you remember, Tim, I don't know if in the original there was definitely like so much of the kind of top-down map giving the units instructions on like a top-down thing. I don't know. You definitely gave your units instructions, and they would go off and do stuff without you, but I can't remember if you just told them to like attack the nearest defense or something. Or
I can't remember, if I'm honest. Most of my memories and recollections with regards to it are more with regards to the sort of the wider strategic game of it, the island chains and taking them. I can't remember the minutiae of actually controlling the units very well. I do remember that I used to frequently go into a manta, fly around for a bit, and then crash. That was my favourite thing to do.
That's still accurately replicated here. The mantas are quite hard to control. Not in a bad way, just in a sort of, these are supposed to be a bit difficult to control until you get the hang of it type of way. So yeah, that was early last week I was playing that. Tim, what have you been playing recently?
I've been playing a few things as well, but I suppose the one I should talk about, since you've given me quite a nice sort of segue there between the two. I've also been playing kind of an update of an old game or an old genre, as I've been spending a bit of time with Legend of Grimrock, which sounds like an album released by a very cheesy 80s metal band. It isn't. It is a bit of a love letter to the 80s, I suppose, as it's a first-person flick-screen dungeon crawler, much in the same vein as Dungeon Master or Lands of Lore or Stonekeep or Eye of the Beholder, any of those. If you remember those, you will be fairly at home with this. Dungeon Master in particular. It does resemble that quite a lot in a lot of ways. It's just a really well-designed game. I mean, you have your party of 4, you've got 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And you sort of wander around this dungeon solving puzzles and trying to get essentially to the bottom. And I think there's around about 12 or 13 floors, something like that. And yes, you fight monsters, you solve puzzles, some of which are really devious. Basically try to make your way through, finding new bits of equipment and leveling up and casting spells. All the usual RPG trappings, really. The one thing that really stood out to me, though, is how well it's designed. Not just in the sense of puzzles, but in the sense of something which I think has been a bit amiss these days, which is actually just designing the game to teach you the core concepts without popping up huge tutorial windows to tell you what to do. There's little bits and pieces. One of the bits on the first floor, which I thought was a really good example of this, is that you need to get a key, which is behind a gate. And there are two trapdoors. There's one in front of the gate and one behind it. You stand on the one in front of it to open the gates. As soon as you step on the one behind it, so you're in this tiny little sort of 2x1 room, the gate slams shut behind you. And so you're basically trapped in there unless you can figure out how to get out. And what this does is basically teach you firsthand that you can actually put objects through gratings. So you can basically stick an object through the grate onto the pressure pad that opens it. It's just full of little bits and pieces like that, just really clever bits of design that teach you how to play without explicitly telling you, which is something that I've really missed these days. It doesn't seem to happen so much now. I should add probably that I haven't actually gotten as far or played as much of Legend of Grimrock as I would like, because of one of the monsters. I'm a hardened arachnophobe, and this game is full of giant spiders. And they are really, really nasty giant spiders. It doesn't help either that the point where the giant spiders appear is pretty much also the point where the game loses any sense of mercy that it has. And it starts throwing a lot of dick moves at you, like opening up secret passages behind you with spiders in them, just as you've walked past. So the first thing you know about it is when legs come around the side of the screen as they attack you from behind. Yeah, I actually had to get a friend of mine to do that floor for me. Then I went back and explored it as best I could and found all the secrets.
What a blouse. What a big girl.
Oh, I could explain the nature of irrational phobias to you, but I don't think we've really got time for that. The community has been sort of hard at work trying to mod out the spiders or just replace the models with something else, because there apparently are quite a lot, judging by the sheer number of threads on the forum. There are a huge number of people who really, really want the spiders gone. Or even just, replaced with a placeholder model or something like that.
Like, I was going to say, hang on, I don't really approve of this. I had to go through Thief and Dark Messiah with the spiders. I'm not a fan of the spiders either, but I had to go through those games with the full-on spider action, and I don't think it's right to. Surely you should be confronting your fear. That's what I think.
I'd really rather not in these circumstances, at least.
So what have they done, Tim? Are you getting like a My Little Pony spider replacement mod?
Well, at the moment, actually, the only thing that's floating around right now, which is something that I think came out yesterday, is a mod which replaces the spiders with a harder monster, which should be interesting. I'm going to try that out a little bit later. Yeah, I suppose it's worth mentioning that there is supposedly an SDK and a full level editor coming, so even once you've actually finished the main game, and it is a sizable game from the looks of it, there will be sort of extra campaigns, there will be fan-made dungeons and things like that, and it should be really, really interesting to see what the community comes out with, because it's a fairly inexpensive game. I think it's around about $15, but it's very clearly a work of love. It's gorgeous. And it's just astonishingly well designed, particularly if you've played any of the old dungeon crawlers.
So basically, is it Dungeon Master? I mean, I love Dungeon Master. It's an absolute classic. Is it the game mechanics exactly the same?
Pretty much, yeah. If you play Dungeon Master, if you like Dungeon Master, then this will be very, very familiar, even to the extent of what some of the hidden switches on the walls look like.
Have they got?
You've still got the same thing, sort of wandering around and finding torches. Very, very similar combat mechanics as well, with the spell casting being tied to runes. A little bit different as you don't have a power rune to start it off. But yeah, it's very, very similar. The leveling's a bit different. But...
Have they got a preset character called Tiggy?
No, you can't go in with Goth, Morgan, Hisser, and Daru and Tiggy, unfortunately. You can make your own. There is a preset party, but you can also generate your own characters. I am hoping that they will add in the ability to add in different character portraits so that I can put all my old Dungeon Master favourites back in.
Now, I have a bit of a story about Dungeon Master. Ellie and I played it together on the ST, and we had one person controlling the mouse and one person controlling the left keys so that we could both play. Ooh, technology. But we almost got to the end of the game, and we got absolutely stuck. We didn't know where to go at all. And then, so both went to bed, slept on it, and we both dreamt where we needed to go. We'd been playing it so much that our dreams were going down like corridors like that, one at a time. And we both woke up and going, we know where it is! We know where it is! Immediately, straight on we were right, we dreamt the solution. Fantastic.
Some psychic game solution action there. That's impressive.
Well, to be fair, that's how it tends to happen with a lot of games. If it's a puzzle or something like that, it does tend to be that once you wander away for half an hour and do something else, it does just come to you. The same thing did happen with Grimrock. I was stuck on a puzzle involving rotating teleporters on floor 3. I couldn't work out how to get through. I wandered off and did the dishes, and halfway through doing the dishes, I realised what I had to do. And once again, sure enough, I was right. I've never actually quite had psychic projections in my dreams, mind you.
Hang on a minute, Tim, you just said doing the dishes. Surely not.
Now, I do, believe it or not, actually have to sort of wash and clean and stuff too.
Okay, fair enough.
The little insight, a little window into Tim's domestic life.
Yes, namely that I have a domestic life.
This is what the people tune in to hear and see, I think. I was just going to ask you, Tim, are you reviewing this for IncGamers, or are you just playing it for fun?
I'm playing it for fun at the moment. I would be more than happy to write a review. Should Paul or John ask me, wherever John is this week?
Yeah, right.
Probably off DDoS or something.
Yeah. Just bash one out, Tim. A review, that is. A review.
I would say, without actually writing a full review, if you do like things like Dungeon Master, Paul, you should buy this. You really should. If you like Dungeon Master, you would love this. Basically, regardless of, forget waiting for the review. If you like things like Dungeon Master, you won't be disappointed with this. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, well that's on my list then.
Excellent.
Tim, you threatened to punch me in the face if I don't play Legends of Grimrock. Is that correct?
To be fair, I do threaten to punch you in the face quite a lot if you don't play games. You are quite bad. You're just very bad at actually following up any recommendations I give you.
Well, I'm a little bit behind. I've just now got around to playing Just Cause 2, so which is about 2 years old. It's really good though, so there is that.
And I can't wait to discuss Mass Effect with you sometime around 2040.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah,
the first one. Then I've got to wait another 10 years for him to get around to the sequel.
I'll be playing it when it goes, shareware or something, freeware. Since you mentioned, Tim, how that game was very good at kind of teaching you intuitively how to play the game, I'm going to quickly mention a game I've just reviewed. The review will be going up on IncGamers.com pretty soon, which is A-Train 9, otherwise known as the Train Giant. I think it got that name for the Western release. The German version also has a slightly different name, but whatever.
Sorry, hang on, wait. A-Train 9.
A-Train 9.
I remember A-Train 1. That came out in, I think, the early 90s. I don't remember 2 to 8.
No, A-Train 1 was actually A-Train 3, I think. It got repackaged and bundled up for a Western. I also played A-Train 1 or 3, whatever the one on the Amiga was, which was alright. It was a sort of SimCity transport tycoon kind of hybrid, where you run the trains on kind of a Japanese model. I think Japanese train companies, they have like a sort of profit cap or something, so they get more into subsidiary businesses like hotels and stuff. I don't know that off the top of my head. I read that online somewhere. Anyway, yes, number 9, which I think it's actually the 16th one in the series, or something ridiculous like that. And yeah, it's been out in Japan for a couple of years, and it's come out here now. It might be quite good, but the problem is it has no tutorial whatsoever, and the manual offers you usually one lone terse sentence on all the very important features of the game. So, like, developing the city around the trains is a really important part of the game, I've managed to gather. And the sentence it has on that is something along the lines of, once you've surveyed your city, you might want to try and develop it in some ways. Well, great,
Wow.
thanks. That's really helpful, thanks very much. So, yeah, if you like games that are sort of like puzzle games in the sense that you have to figure out how their economic and manufacturing and goods distribution systems all work and interconnect with one another without it giving you any feedback whatsoever or any information to help you ascertain how they might work, then this might be the game for you. But
so you get extra game hours because you have to figure out the manual, which is a puzzle in itself.
yeah,
So instead of having
go on.
Instead of having 10 hours of gameplay, it actually has 45 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, it seems that way.
That's a new and interesting way of padding out a game. Just don't tell people how to play it.
Yeah, and the bits I did figure out I wasn't massively enamored with. For example, you have to distribute, if you want to build any buildings, you have to have a warehouse with resources and materials in it. To get the resources there, factories have to build them, and you have to get like a truck from the factory to the warehouse with the materials. But telling your truck how to do that isn't a simple act of, like, say, clicking on the truck and then going, okay, start at this factory, then go to this warehouse. No, you don't do that. You click on the truck, and then you have to tell it at every single intersection in the city which way to turn and which way to drive. So, like, okay, go right now go left, now carry straight on, now go right. To get to the factory, and then tell it to pick up the stuff at the factory. Then you have to drive it through the nice, lovely intersections all the way back to the warehouse, and then you have to do this with every single truck that you buy. You have to micromanage the ever-living Christ out of everything. And yeah, the review should be up pretty soon. You can guess it's not getting a massively high score from me.
I did actually play reasonably recently a transport game which reminded me a little of that, which was Cities in Motion, I think.
Yeah.
Just in terms, the thing was, though, with that, the micromanagement was actually perhaps part of the point, as you did actually have to sort of arrange the bus routes and the train lines and so on. Everything that was going through the roads, you did, like buses, you needed to sort out the routes for them. That's a bit of an aside, though, I was going to say. Going back to gaming memories, and also a question, the one thing that I remember about the original A-Train, and the one thing that I really liked about it when I was 6, or however old I was when I played it, when the game clock went to 25th of December, Santa Claus would come and he would fly around the city. Does that happen in A-Train 9?
I will.
Before you answer, I will quickly say that this may be a major selling point for me. This might get them a bit more cash out of this if I buy it.
I can neither confirm nor deny, because I don't think I've gone across the 25th of December. It definitely has weather effects. I've seen it snow a couple of times. Haven't seen Santa Claus, but I could pop into the game after the podcast and possibly accelerate the time to 25th of December and see if he shows up.
I was just... One other thing quickly before I forget. No, I've forgotten. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Can't have been important.
Oh, since you mentioned Cities in Motion, that if you're interested in sort of like a mass transit management game, I would definitely recommend that over A-Train 9, because it's not amazing, but it's a lot more intuitive and actually has some fun to it.
I've remembered what I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to say, where is the game actually based? Because you mentioned that it kind of worked off a Japanese train economic structure, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is it based in Japanese cities or fictional cities or around the world or what?
It's in the main scenarios they seem to be fictional cities. There's a few kind of extra ones that I think were community constructed or something, and they're kind of like they're quite contemporary actually. There's one in Greece where it's like Greece is going through a terrible economic crisis. The instructions were basically like, can you sell off all the private industry, essentially, which they seemed a bit brutal to me. But...
So it's not a case of, with the power of trains, can you save Greece?
I don't know. Maybe it was, and it's just been badly translated. I'm not really sure. So there are some semi-realistic bits. There's also like a level map editor thing as well, which you can dabble in if you want to recreate Paris or something, if you've got the time for that. So yeah, I mean, the other, quite a lot of the scenarios are in like smaller urban areas, so I don't know if they're genuinely based on Japanese cities or towns. They might just be, I kind of suspect not.
Okay.
They look a bit too haphazard, really. Yeah.
So, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Leaving the station away from A Train 9. Once again, with the retooled news quiz, I'm sticking with the same format as last week, where there is category choices for you both. I think Tim went first last week, so Paul, you can go first and choose from. I might hazard a guess at what you're going to go for, but you can either go for PC ports, gaming heroes, Peter Molyneux, patent trolling, publisher denials.
Do you know what? You know that I'm going to go for Peter Molyneux. You know it.
Yeah.
But I am actually not going to go for Peter Molyneux because I actually can't think of any. Okay, I'll go for Peter Molyneux. Go on then.
You don't have to. I'm not going to force you.
No.
Because if you don't, then Tim will. So I mean.
No, I'll go for Peter Molyneux. Just the thought of him in his turtleneck, just brilliant.
All right. Okay, so what did Molyneux describe as a personal failure in an interview last week?
Oh, actually, I do know this. This has got to be Fable 3, isn't it?
Indeed, it was Fable 3. Specifically, it was not being persuasive enough about Fable 3 needing more time before release or something like that. But yeah, that is basically true. And I'm glad you got this because this is my favourite bonus question. When I put the terms Molyneux turtleneck into Google image search, how many unique turtlenecks was I able to confirm that Peter Molyneux owns based on images on the first page of results?
So, how many unique turtlenecks does Peter Molyneux have?
Based on the first page of Google image search.
Everybody knows that he's only got one. He's got the black one. He must only have one.
I'm afraid that is not correct.
Oh.
There is the black one, but I also pulled up an image of him wearing a white one, so the answer was two turtlenecks.
Excellent.
So I'm afraid you don't get the bonus point. And Tim, are you going to go for PC ports, gaming heroes, patent trolling, or publisher denials?
I think, because I have a feeling I might know what this is to do with, I think I'll go with patent trolling.
Okay.
Just hope that the question isn't, off on a massive tangent from that. Carry on.
Hang on a minute. Just before you say something, Tim,
Yep.
It's not trolling. It's trolling. For Christ's sake, will people stop calling it trolling? Jesus. It drives me mental.
I think this has kind of entered the language now as both things, I'm afraid. But
patent trolling.
Yeah, indeed. That is the terminology that comes up when you look for patent troll.
Troll.
Yeah, I know. I had a chat to my wife about this very subject actually, but she turned out to be right in the end. So there we go.
As always.
Yeah, pretty much. So, patent trolling, whatever. What rather broad patent is Worlds Inc. claiming Activision Blizzard has violated in games such as World of Warcraft and Call of Duty? I've got the exact phrase down here, but if you give me something vaguely like it, I'll...
It was something about... it was something to do with virtual worlds. I think it was something along the lines of interacting in virtual reality or something like that. Am I close?
That's very close, yeah. A system and method for enabling users to interact in a virtual space. Very good. Seems kind of broad, but you know. Alright, for a
little bit.
For a bonus point, there's a professional patent troll at large in the US currently who's making quite a lot of money from American cities running transit systems by suing them for what patent infringement? It's a bit obscure, I know.
Yeah, I can't... a system for moving people from one place to another.
Not quite, no. It's the real-time tracking of public transport. So, like, when there's a bus stop and it kind of says, next bus is coming in however many minutes.
Right.
He's basically got 30-odd patents relating to this. And because it's easier for the cities just to pay him off, he gets about 50 grand each time he does this.
Nice work.
Yeah.
It's alright for some, isn't it?
Indeed. So 1-1 after those two. Paul, you have PC ports, gaming heroes, and publisher denials left.
Okay, I will go for publisher denials.
Okay, how many employees is EA absolutely definitely not going to be laying off in the near future, according to their spokespeople?
Well, definitely not, but probably are and probably will do. Definitely is 500 to 1,000 employees.
Yes, that is the exact figure that I have down here. Nice. And the bonus point, which may or may not relate to this, what is EA's total net loss for the period 2008 to 2011?
Oh, come on.
I'll give you a clue, it's in the billions.
What sort of... 23.
No, it's not quite that bad. It's only a mere $2.4 billion.
Well, mere. Only a mere 2 point, yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. So good work there, EA. Keep up the amazing business acumen. Tim, do you want PC ports or gaming heroes?
I will go with... I think I'll go with PC ports, as I can't think of anything that would apply to either of those, so I'm in trouble either way.
Okay, what fatal error has Namco Bandai made in porting Dark Souls over to the PC?
Was this that they were looking into or trying to arrange to use games for Windows Live with regards to it?
Yes, it is exactly that. Well done. For a bonus point, can you list 2 of the 5 reasons that were given in an online petition for a switch away from Games for Windows Live to Steamworks for Games for Windows Live being an awful choice? They gave 5 reasons why it was rubbish.
You must have 500 reasons, Tim.
Just name a couple of reasons why
yes,
Windows Live is shit, you'll probably get some.
They all come down to Games for Windows Live doesn't actually work. That's kind of the initial problem I have with it.
Well, one of them is difficult to use. That kind of covers that, I guess.
I mean, the thing with Games Windows Live is it is pretty much a console. Games Windows Live itself is pretty much a PC port of a console system. It just doesn't really function particularly well. It's a complete pain in the arse to run alongside anything else. It takes forever to log in and to dick around with. It's yet another account that you actually need. And yeah, the fact that it doesn't actually sodding work is always a favourite of mine. There's the loss of save games, I suppose, that happened with a few games with Games Windows Live on PC.
Is that not about 10 you've given there, Tim? You only wanted 5 or 2.
Yeah, I actually only wanted 2 out of the 5, but yeah, they listed unpopular, difficult to use, inconvenient, terrible online support, and downright unpleasant. And you've covered at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those. So yeah, I'm gonna...
Complaining about Games Windows Live is like Pringles. Once you start, you just can't stop. You carry on.
It's true. It's true. Okay, Tim, you're in the lead now, 3-2. Paul, you need this one. There's only gaming heroes left. Which iconic video game protagonist is confirmed to be returning on the Wii U?
Oh God!
Confirmed last week.
I did read this, and I can't even remember. No, I'm gonna have to pass it over to the McDonald.
Tim, you don't actually need this to win. You're already ahead. But,
Is it Mario?
It is Mario. Yes, congrats. I may as well do the bonus then. What was the name of the 1989 film created as a thinly veiled advertisement for the as yet unreleased Super Mario Bros. 3?
Is that to me?
No, that's to Tim. Sorry, because Tim got the.
Was it? And it's been a long time since I've seen this. Was it The Wizard?
Yes. Yeah. Impressive. Wow.
That film has some serious. Yeah, that's one of the few things that I think I was pretty much guaranteed to know.
Excellent. Well, final scores then, Tim. You got 5. Paul, I'm afraid you only got 2. Bad luck.
Yeah, but I kicked his arse last week, so...
That's true, you did.
What are the running... Do we know what the running totals are? How much did you kick my arse by last week?
What? It wasn't much. It was only like 2-1 or 3-2 or something.
So we'll call it one week each then, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then,
1-1.
And when John starts going out to press events for free food, then we'll have another person.
Right.
Oh. Well, yeah, speaking of going to press events, let's talk about what's coming up on IncGamers.com this week. I might have to enlist your help slightly here, because I'm not totally sure. I know that, as discussed, my A-Train 9 review will be going up. I'm also doing Tribes Ascend, which I'll probably go up early next week. Tim, have you got anything in the pipeline that will be coming up or has gone up?
Actually, I haven't. I've got nothing right now. I could potentially, if John wants it, I may be writing about Legend of Grimrock. I may see if I can actually figure out a way to do this. I might actually write something about arachnophobia and gaming, some sort of weekend featurey thing. But I don't know. I'll need to talk to John about that and see if we can sort something out there.
I do know that we've got a second part of the Old Republic interview that'll be going up this week, as far as I know. And
Yes.
John actually did send me a list, but I can't remember what was on it apart from that.
Hang on. I've got some email. Maybe he sent it to me too. No, he didn't. Oh well.
I specifically requested it.
I swear. Can we... I'm going to reveal that John is at an EA event, so there will probably be previews coming up of a couple of EA's bigger franchises. I think I'm safe in saying that.
Yeah, there's a couple of embargoes that run out on Friday.
If they are what I remember they are, I think we can possibly get away, maybe, hypothetically, get away with saying that one of them is a franchise that revolves around building, and the other is a franchise which revolves around pretty much the opposite.
That's fair to say, yeah.
Also, in other news, there's the Diablo podcast, the News Attack should be going up as well imminently, probably today around the same time this goes up. And of course, the Diablo beta's now been given a concluding date of the 1st of May. And people got into the beta for free today, so it was all fun all round for everybody. By accident.
And I still haven't played it.
Yeah, but you've got access, Tim. You're just too damn lazy to go and play it. And anyone who's into Diablo 3 and hasn't got a beta key and watches this will want to come around and shoot you in the face about now.
I do have access to, and I have played through the beta. Only like once, but I have done it. So there you go. So kill Tim, not me.
I will give it a look. It's not been high up on my list, particularly the past few weeks when I've been murdering myself with doing hundreds of other things at the same time instead.
All in the line of duty, Tim.
Indeed.
All right, well, if you've enjoyed this podcast, then remember to tune in next week. Tell your friends, tell the world. Check out IncGamers.com always. We're also on like Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff. So, give us likes and all that social media gubbins that is so popular with the kids these days.
Social what?
Social, I don't know. I'm contractually obliged to say that. And we'll be back next week with another scintillating pod. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.